joined now for her thoughts on it with the Vice Chairperson of the Communist Party of Great Britain, Joti Brar. Joti, you're most welcome. So just to put this in context, we have a person training people at an extreme right-wing camp in the UK in Wales. And now he's fighting in Ukraine and basically being heralded as a type of hero. Are you surprised at that 180 turn by British media when they talk about this person?
Not at all, no. I mean, there's two things that are really important to notice here. Number one is that the British media is really keen to present a narrative that fits with their agenda. Their agenda is breaking up Russia. And they come up with all this, so they can't just say we want to break up Russia and loot it. So they come up with lots of terminology to cover it. And they talk about decolonizing Russia. And they try to make out that Russia has a really dictatorial, oppressive government that's pushing down on all its people and they want to rebel. So having someone Russian to focus on and say, look, what's happening here isn't terrorism by, that's backed by Ukraine. It's homegrown national liberation struggle. That kind of fits with their propaganda narrative. On the other side, we have to recognize that the way that these fascist networks have been nurtured is exactly the same as the Muslim jihadi networks were nurtured by the West. Fascism officially, like jihadi terrorism, officially is not Western policy, right? They say it's their enemy. They say that they don't approve of it. But of course, in reality, it's created, funded and nurtured by them as a tool to be used. They create these proxy armies for times when they need motivated fighters. The thing is, their causes are unjust. And so it's hard to have armies which are well motivated, and motivating people with this type of ideology, people who are poor, who've been suffering from the crisis of capitalism, that let down by the education system, let back down by inequality and unemployment. They're given this training, they're given a motive, they're given a gang to be part of, they're given weapons and told how important they are, and they're sent off by the West.
I'm just a little surprised as well, Joti, as the short-sightedness of journalists, the outlets maybe they work for more in particular, because these are the journalists who wrote just a number of years ago about extremist elements, about neo-Nazi links in Ukraine and other areas, but now are, as we say, essentially celebrating them. How does that now lead going forward? Because they've let themselves open to accusations. Well, you're defending Nazis in one part of the world, but then criticise them in others. It's not going to stand up to any kind of coherent, kind of critical thinking, this, is it?
Well, it doesn't stand up to coherent critical thinking. Not much about the current status quo stands up to coherent critical thinking. They rely on the fact that they control, that our ruling classes control the media. Just as they control these fighters, they're in control of most of the narrative. And so they have tame journalists who carry the right stories in the right moment. There's a moment when there's a kind of, every now and again, the media has to reflect kind of popular concerns or things which are breaking through on social media. They can't totally ignore them. So they'll do the odd article saying, oh gosh, yes, isn't it bad that there's these awful people and we really must crack down on them and we don't know how on earth they've got together and, oh, we must worry about them. Never really looking into where their money comes from. But then when the narrative changes, the ruling class doesn't want to talk about that. It's not talked about.
Just on that, unless, I suppose, people are digging deep into this and hearing directly from people on the ground who've worked in those regions, does the general public in the West know that radicals such as this one we're talking about are handed weapons from taxpayer money to attack Russian border regions? I would surmise they're being told it's used for freedom, liberty, all those kind of buzzwords. But the reality are civilians are dying from attacks with these weapons.
They don't have a clue where the money is going. They don't understand that the Ukraine has been a CIA proxy state since 2014. They don't understand it's riddled with fascists. They have no clue that this war was provoked by Russia. It's the job of people like me to try and help them see that, because the mainstream media absolutely doesn't present any of the facts that would help you to understand what's going on.
Thank you very much for your time today, Joti. Always good to speak to you. Joti Brar, Vice Chair of the Communist Party of Great Britain, live on RT.